So I just want to start by saying thank you for all of the messages um, and heartfelt reaching out from all of you yesterday. And I just want to say that what it has reminded me of, and I want to remind you of, is just how incredibly powerful support is. I think we have been collectively scripted often to think that to get through the hard stuff and the heavy stuff, we need to do the heavy lifting ourselves, or we become reliant on other people. And when we rely on other people, we set ourselves up for disappointment. When we expect other people to do the heavy lifting for us, sometimes for whatever reason they don't, and then we have the feeling of being let down or being disappointed, and so we create this idea that it's up to us to figure it out. And so I believe that both are true, is that no one can do your work. And I think the first thing to do to heal your heart is feel your feelings. And that's the first step to healing. And sometimes letting others pick you up can make all the difference in the world. So I just want to say that my experience of, so if I look tired today, that's why I just took my sunglasses off. I'm a good sleeper. Those of you that know me, I often say, sleep is so restorative and so regenerative. And it's why one of the very first audios I did for hypnosis was sleep, because I would always feel really concerned about clients when they're not getting proper rest. And so I'm averaging about 2.5 hours, and then I'm awake, and then the mind starts. And I know you all can relate to that beautiful thing we call our mind, and when it gets going, how difficult it is to find rest. And so I made the decision that one of the most important things was for me to really take a look at, because I believe grief opens the door for us to look at our old wounds. That when we feel grief, it's a chance for us to honor and acknowledge that we have old wounds that are being activated, and not just old wounds, but old beliefs that are attached. And that creates the distorted thinking, which creates the crisis or the issue in sleep. And so if we don't look at the belief system, we never have the opportunity to shift what doesn't support, and then we create new wounds, and those new wounds eventually, given enough time, become old wounds. So I worked really hard yesterday in my sleep, in my lack of sleep, in my awakeness, in my insomnia, to work on what was it that I needed to affirm and what old beliefs are being triggered. And I realized that it was the belief that I'm not lovable and that I'm not worth fighting for, and that if he really loved me, he would want to lean in and do what needs to be done to find the win-win. He's done the courses, so he wouldn't see the opportunity to run from what's not working, but run towards what's not working, and at least do everything humanly possible to sort through what the challenges are. And I always said I wanted to support him in having a better relationship with his kids, but I didn't want to parent them. I want to support him in parenting. I want to support him in teaching them some life skills, because at this particular stage of their lives, the fact that so many of the issues that are showing up are going to be issues long into their life. Like, it's going to show up in so many different ways. And so I realized that I needed to get a hold of that belief that this was about me. And so I don't want to go to the place of arrogance and say I have nothing to learn or nothing to work on or nothing that maybe needs to be changed. Maybe it's my tone, maybe it's the way that I speak to him. I understand tone and body language, and 7% of our communication is what the words that we say. There's so much of it that, it's like the example that I heard recently was, if I were to say, "Oh, what would you think I was experiencing?" But if I was to say, "Oh," the same word, but a very different feel. Or if I was to say, "Oh." So the word is the same, but it's the tone that changes everything in terms of what we interpret or what we understand. So, and again, my invitation to him was, I'm not in opposition to getting some outside support. So if there is something that I needed to look at, but the belief for me that has been cropping up has been that belief of not lovable. And I just want to say that all of the messages coming from so many of you has really, truly touched my heart. Like, you have no idea. And I have just felt so much better. And some of you that I've had direct conversations with, just the space to let me cry and to let me outflow and feel my feelings. And so it also made me think, as I was laying awake, around how many of us, we've all had relationships end, and many of you have talked about that too. And so I just want to say that I'm wondering, we all know how to end relationships, but do we actually know how to complete a relationship? And in David and Louise in their You Can Heal Your Heart talk about that, and that it's about accepting that not all relationships are meant to last. And we hear the old cliche reason, season, lifetime, and what does that mean? But if you can think of an ending of a relationship as a perfect expression of what was needed in your life right now, then it feels a little better. But it's recognizing that, to complete a life. So if we think about death, to complete a life, it starts with a birthday and an end day, and so a death day. And so what happens in between, the dash, they talk about when you see a tombstone, there's the date of birth and the date of death, and then it's the dash and what we do in between and the choices that we make that matter so much. So part of what I believe is important for both people in the ending of a relationship is the completion of that relationship. And how to do that requires openness and willingness, and again, communication and conversation. And at this point, that's not happening for me. I'm not being given that opportunity or that invitation. In fact, every short encounter has been electronic and, from my experience, very cold, very calculated. I met with a realtor today and signed the papers, and he said to me, you just need to be prepared for a long sale. The condition of the home is, and some of you were there 2 weeks ago, and so I know that helps you understand a little bit about what I'm going through, and that and just how heart-wrenching that is for me. And that yesterday when I went and got some of my things, I couldn't wait to get out of there, and felt like I can't go back there for some time. And it's so bad energetically and literally in such a short period of time. I responded to my partner and said, he was bringing a cleaning lady in today, and I said, so, it's like putting lipstick on a pig, and that it's the reminder that energy is all around us all the time, and it too is informing us. And so what is it that we need to do to complete, to clear, to clean energy, to have space to be able to do better and be better? So I recognize that there's some things I'm going to need to do about changing my thoughts around loss and even grief, and I signed up for a lifetime commitment, and I think he didn't, and that he didn't realize how long a lifetime was or what was involved, and that for me it's remembering love delivers everything that we need to grow, and sometimes saying goodbye is like saying I love you, and if he was going to be unhappy, then love would be sacrificed, and that's not helpful. And so I need to just be okay with that release, and that I don't want either of us stuck in pain or suffering. I don't want it to take 5 years to get over a 2-year relationship, is what it comes down to. So I was also thinking about Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and the stages of grieving, and recognizing again how significant that is, and that we start out in denial or shock, and then we go through the anger phase, and then we go into the negotiation or the bargaining phase, and then we go into the depression side of things, and then finally we hit acceptance. And we often think that experience is going to be linear. It's not. It's like a spiral. And so I realize, your grief is as unique as your fingerprint, and I realize that I've been struggling and in getting through the denial phase of things, and having the experience of wanting to try and move through that with some grace, and really having difficulty, and that I'm in the sadness phase right now. And so I just want to say that if you're in the grief process, if you can take anything from today from yesterday is support. Reach out. Don't be afraid. So many of you said, the vulnerability, such permission, and even some of you talked about things that are going on in your life and that you could use support with and haven't had the courage to ask. And so lean in to the people that love you, lean into the people that support you. Pay attention to the inner conversation and the inner dialogue, especially the ones that create new wounds or reinforce old ones. And if you can't see yourself clearly in those moments, see yourself through other people's eyes. And so looking at myself through your eyes over the last 24 hours has made it so much better. And so I welcome the chance to be able to sleep again. You can see I'm at a friend's place that is beautiful and safe, and I feel very comforted. I'm unhappy with the fact that all of my things are in. She just doesn't have room for me and for all of the stuff that I have, and so things are in bins, and it's not the way that I see myself living my life. But I'm just so grateful that she's opened it up. Thank you to all of those of you that offered me a place to be, those of you that, so many opportunities, and I just feel so grateful. And it's that gratitude that helps heal some of that hurting heart. So words of wisdom, lean in to support, lean into people that do love you, and when you're struggling with seeing yourself clearly, as I said before, look at yourself through other people's eyes sometimes. Thank you. I love you. I'll see you soon.